Hello and welcome to Unshakable with Human Design, everybody. I'm your host, Nicole Lano, and I am here with the lovely, talented, and beautiful friend, Christina Luna. Hello, my love. How are you?
Hello, Nicole. I am so good. I'm so grateful to be with you.
I'm so happy to be doing this. So it is our June transit episode coming to you a few days late. That's okay though. We're going to catch you up. So much is happening in the month of June. I was just saying to you, we were kind of chatting before we hit record that I hadn't really paid attention to what was happening in June until I started preparing for this episode. And I was like, there's actually a lot. And I think a lot of people, we get into summer mode. We were just talking about how school's ending for you guys. School ended already, before Memorial Day for my son. So we are already fully into the summer vacation swing here. And I think there's that sense of things slowing down for summer. And actually, that's not at all. I mean, June is already a high energy month cosmically. Do you want to talk a little bit about flowing from that? We're going Gemini and Cancer, and just kind of what we've got going on there. As far as what do you see energetically? What's the vibe of June?
Yeah, so the vibe of June, the vibe of Gemini season, we kind of had an interesting break the last few years because we had Saturn moving retrograde early in the month of June for the last couple of years. And so it almost felt like we got this slowing down sensation, but not this year. This year,
Yeah.
and I honestly think the reason why we both kind of slept on June is because May required us to be so present with what was right in front of us. It was really difficult to sort of time travel or be putting on anything extra than what was right in front of us. And so that Taurus season had us slowing way down and stabilizing a new reality. But June is a different animal. We have stabilized a new reality, but now we're telling new stories about what this reality is about. And so the energy of this June specifically has us seeing a contrast between the old stories we used to tell about our lives, the old goals, possibilities that we used to think were available to us, and we have a whole new experience of what's possible now. And so it in some ways it can kind of stop you in your tracks. It can make you sort of what is it, like paralysis by analysis,
Yeah.
because it's a really mental time and we have so much new information coming in through the physical senses due to both Saturn and Neptune in Aries now. We've got a lot of background Aries information coming in, making us really, really clear about the signals our physical body is giving us. And the physical experience of our reality requires new stories. And so there could be some disconnect between what we think is going on and what we feel is going on. And June has us being with all of that, slowing down enough to notice that there's a difference here, and then mentally constructing a whole new story about what's going on. So this is a different June than we've had in the last few years.
And I feel that already. And when I was looking at this, I'm like, oh no, this is get ready, people, because I think whenever we feel shifts, it's just when you get comfortable, then, something changes and it's time for us. And I think when you don't have tools like this, you start questioning, why do I feel different? Why is this? I felt so good. I felt like things were picking up, or I felt like I was slowing down, and now what's happening now? This is just a different part of the ride. And I think, this is what we do these episodes, and we pay attention to things like astrology and human design to help us even know that we're on a ride. That the ride is not all personal for us. We are all collectively on a ride. And when you surrender to the ride and just go, oh, it's just another part of this ride. And this June happens to have a pretty let's talk about some of the things that we're seeing. I mean, right now, so as we're recording this, we are in the 35th gate of the sun is in the 35th gate of the human design wheel. And the 35th gate is the gate of progress. And this is one of those things, I think that this is a funny gate because progress, what does progress really mean? And I think one of the questions I wanted to kick this episode off with and kick June off with is progress sometimes is our idea of what progress should be. It's what change do I want to make? And 35 never is satisfied sitting still for even a moment. But sometimes what that can lead to is that impatience, the shadow of it is called hunger. And I think that that's a great word for it because it's sort of blind hunger of like more, next, what's next, where are we going, what are we doing now, we've got to move, we've got to change, we've got to make something happen. Progress is calling. But sometimes progress does need to be a little bit more measured or to take stock of what is here. Where have you already grown is a question that I kind of want to put to people. And I see this a lot in my business and with clients that I'm working with. They want something more, they want something different. So they think that the only thing that they could do now is to do more stuff or to make some big radical change. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it just requires you to sit, ask the question, and actually look at what you have already. How are you already resourced? And what is this change really calling from you? What is it really asking you to do? Because the change that you want, the progress that you want to create, might require a different tool than you're used to using.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you're talking about this because I got a download around like the 23rd of May that was about this time specifically related to progress. And this week, the first week of June typically is the archetypal story arc is about the Knight of Swords, and the Knight of Swords has this energy of wanting to move fast and wanting to like forge forward and cut ahead. And the message I'm receiving for this year is that progress doesn't look like progress when you're building pressure. And the metaphoric storyline that is different this year than in years past is imagine that you've spent a lot of time creating something like a steam engine train, and you've laid all the tracks and you've meticulously created this vessel. And the way that the vessel moves forward is that you load logs of fuel into the furnace. The furnace boils the water, and the water builds the steam in a compartment. And once enough pressure is built in that compartment, it begins to move the mechanism, and then your engine begins moving in a way that has a locomotive like power that won't stop. And but if you think about a steam engine, it starts slowly and then it begins its motion, and then you need less pressure built once it gets in motion. But this period of time could feel like pressure, and pressure doesn't always feel like progress, even though it is. In fact, if we end up feeling like things aren't moving, we're not making progress, we're not going fast enough, and we stop taking the logs out of the furnace, it will actually diminish the steam, and it will cool down everything, and we'll try to find the next shiny thing that will get things moving. But the real thing that gets things moving are those logs on the fire. The consistent progression of pressure will get the mechanism moving. And so we could find ourselves not enjoying some of that pressure. And honestly, the pressure is on more so than anything, it's on our minds to create a new story. So if there's any circumstances in our lives right now that feel like we're stuck between a rock and a hard place, or things just aren't changing, or things just aren't moving, the place that the pressure is building is to break our minds. And we literally had a Sun-Mercury cazimi on the 30th of May, which was designed to actually give us a brainwash or break our minds open a little bit so that we could call in a creative new story as we start this week.
Yeah, and as you were giving that metaphor of building pressure, and then the word that kept coming to me is that pressure is ultimately creating the momentum that you will see later, as long as you don't get in the way of the pressure doing its thing, and of the progress that's being made. So trusting, sometimes you have to do something, you have to, because I think the other thing, the 35th gate is, the polarity is the fifth gate. And the fifth gate says, we don't have to do anything. Nature takes care of itself. We have to trust that when we've done the work, sometimes you just need to lean back and let the work do the work. That there's more happening beneath the surface than you could see. And the 35 is saying, no, we've got to do more. What else are we going to do? What are we going to change? What are we going to, and there's like this manic kind of never satisfied. The 35 is never satisfied. So where are you finding that you are not satisfied? And is that real? Or is that just, you've got an idea about where you should be now and you're not there, so something's got to change? Does it really? Or are you just so hungry? Are you so in the hunger? And I see this, I have so many people in my world that come to me with the 35th gate. So many people that have the 35th gate, particularly in a prime place. And they are the people that are always like, they're action takers. But it's sometimes the action is what bites them in the ass. It's like, you don't need more action right now. You need more trust. That the action you've already taken is doing something. That pressure is building and it will lead to momentum, but you keep getting in the way. You actually keep like changing a strategy and doing something different. Trust that you planned enough in May. Because May was about like laying groundwork. It was about saying like, this is what we want. Okay, we did the thing. Remember, we're shifting over into that second, in May we shifted over into that second quarter of the human design wheel. And that wheel says, now we are concretizing the ideas. We tested things in that first quarter. We worked on stuff. We kind of like, we sort of figured out the raw material and what's here. Now, what do we really want to build? Now you've been in this for about a month. We've been in this theme. The 35th gate then comes in and starts questioning all the plans and starts saying, maybe we got to do something different. And just watch yourself while you're in this. Watch yourself and just see if you are going to do more harm than good with the action that you're taking. Or is it just maybe a little bit more of the same, or maybe leaning back that's actually going to give you a little bit more of what you need so that pressure can build? Can you deal with the discomfort of things maybe not visually seeming like the progress that you have in mind is being made? If you can't see it, it doesn't mean it's not happening. Right? We have to trust the unseen.
Yeah, there's another theme going on right now that says sometimes it's really hard to value hard things. And it's the hard things or the process or the slow time put in that's also really strongly being emphasized and valued right now. And there, I see several squares in this June. Lots of squaring energy because we have a lot of planets that are in the early degrees of new signs, and they're all kind of moving in together. And so we've got like cardinal fire squaring against cardinal water. So we've got like this desire to instinctively move with this instinctual emotions coming up. This could be a time when our higher mind might not have a grip on what's actually going on. It's like a very, very human time. It's a very close to the earth time. And
Can you explain what is, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. You mentioned squares, and I don't know if we've told everybody what that means, and maybe you can go into that. And I'm so sorry. Finish your thought. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
That's okay. Squares, so squares in astrology are when you've got planets in signs that come together at a 90-degree angle. But that's the technical term. The way that I perceive squares is, imagine that there are two cowboys or two cowgirls entering a square in like a Western movie. And they both say, this town's not big enough for the two of us. And you're always going to know you're in this kind of scenario when you feel like you're stuck between two choices and one of them has to be sacrificed or killed. Like you can't have both for some reason. That's the way you're feeling. So you got these two cowgirls, they show up. Maybe it's a sheriff and a cowgirl. Maybe it's a desire for freedom and a desire for responsibility that comes to this square. And they're both like, they're going to turn around. They're going to count to 10. They're going to try and like annihilate one or the other. What I always say is, if you got something like this going on, it's impossible to kill a part of yourself. We're not here to kill parts of
Mm.
ourselves. We're here to accept our whole self. And so if the town feels like it's not big enough for the two of us, that means our identity or our ego has to grow to hold both of these things. That means growth has to happen. The town must grow to hold both cowgirls.
Mm-hmm.
And so this month is a huge month for growth because we've got to grow our instinct to move and our instinct to feel. We've got to hold our instinct to be soft and vulnerable with our instinct to be loud and strong and brave. And that is going to be an interesting place to navigate. And I had conversations with women. I was in a really intimate retreat this past weekend, and a lot of the themes were around how do I build muscle that doesn't act as armor? How do I show up strongly that doesn't push people away?
Huh.
How do I have boundaries that allow every part of my life to sink in and my heart to remain open? These were the questions that were asked, and those are kind of squaring off questions because we know that if we lean one side or the other, it could be at our detriment or the detriment of others. And so the new story that we're writing is a story that allows both of these to coexist in a brand new way. It's a chance for incredible novelty. Novelty in that it's new, it's never been experienced before. It's the unknown, basically. And with cardinal signs are the beginning or initiating part of a cycle. We have the initiation, we have the maintenance, and then we have the changing element. So cardinals always start a new manifesting cycle. And with so much cardinal energy squaring off right now, it's asking for almost a volcanic eruption of new reality within our psyche, within our relationships, within our money, within every aspect of ourselves.
I think that question that you brought up, I think June is actually, that how do I hold, how do I be strong and not have it push people away? How do I show up as, the best version of myself who has boundaries, who doesn't just people please and do things out of obligation and let other people trample over my boundaries? How does that not become something that is just holding people out, right? I think June is sort of a good exercise. It's a good gym for that question, because I think even we go into, in the second week, the 7th through the 12th, the sun goes into the 45th gate. This is the queen. The 45th gate is the queen. She says, I know what's best for me and for a lot of others. We're going into, when we talk about each, the 45th gate is part of the cross of rulership. And what's interesting is that week we're in the cross of rulership. And then on the 13th, the nodes shift. I know from an astrological aspect, they probably don't. I think we stay in the same sign. We're still in Pisces and Virgo, but they shift in the human design wheel. So we went from the 36th gate. So on the 12th, the North Node is in the 36th gate, which is crisis, the darkening of the light. This is all the feels, and it has been all the feels. But don't think you're getting a reprieve. You're still in the emotional center. We're moving from one type of emotion to another. One is very action-oriented. It's super bold. The 36th gate is, partnered with that 35th gate that says, change and change now. Adventure. The only way to live life is to feel it, is to do it. We just have to do things and experience things. And yes, crisis will come, but we're going to be such rich feelers and experiencers that we're able to see life and see people through this whole new lens. That's what I think we've been learning for this whole first half of the year, is that 36th gate coming in and saying, how do we hold more space for the messiness of life? How do we not need it to be so damn perfect? But then also, how do we accept others for their experience of life? It's not just ours. The gift is compassion. So I think what we've been called to is to grow our compassion in this period, and to be able to grow toward the messier and allowing the messy to happen without feeling like your life is going to fall apart, and really embracing that and life's just emotional experience. But now we shift into the 22nd gate, which is the other half of the cross of rulership. Every cross gets 4 gates. So the sun is in the first 2, the 45 and the 26, from the 7th to the 12th. And then immediately when that ends, when the sun shifts, then the nodes shift into the other 2 gates of that cross. I feel like we're getting a bit of a lesson in what power struggles are like and what it's really like to the cross of rulership in its best and highest expression knows how to hold its boundaries, how to say, I am a queen, but I'm a benevolent queen who listens and who hears everyone and who cares genuinely about everybody around me, but I hold my sovereignty. And I do know what I know. And I do that unapologetically. But now, instead of being in that crisis that we've been in, now I think we're being called to, it's the 22nd gate and the 47th gate that we shift into. And these nodes now stay with us through, I think, like September or something like that. We'll be in those nodes. The 22nd and the 47th gate, the 22nd gate is our north node. Now, instead of crisis, it's grace. So now that we've developed compassion, now let's take this another step further and say, how do we accept all of those emotions? How do we still feel shame when there's something for us to feel shame about? Because it's not about, rulership isn't about being, and I think we're all collectively getting a lesson in this right now, it isn't about being above the law. It isn't about being untouchable. It isn't about being, we are absolutely fallible creatures. And there are some things we should feel shame for. There are some things we should feel guilty for. There are some things we should feel bad for because we are not perfect. But can you meet those moments with grace for yourself and for others? And I had in my notes here, where are we not being honest with ourselves? And where are we playing at something? Because I think in order to be graceful, in order to be gracious and graceful in life, I think you have to honestly look at what you are experiencing and who you are. And I think it's time when the mask has to come down. When we have to, the 22nd gate, the polarity is 47, and the 47 is the oppressor. It's your mind will either free you or lock you in its cage and keep you there forever. And what will break you out? It's the other side, it's the emotions. Mm-hmm. It's really being able to feel everything. And when we have these two where the mind and the emotions meet, you are unstoppable. But you have to be able to look at yourself with honesty. So I had here, where are you playing house? Mm-hmm. Where are you playing entrepreneur in your life? Where are you playing awakened spiritual being? Where are you playing at this stuff? And can you really meet the truth of that without feeling like you failed or feeling like you now can't get what you want or you can't be who you are, and having it be this existential crisis, and just go, oh, this is a moment where I'm noticing that I'm out of integrity here. Or I'm not, and how can I have compassion for myself? Because I just learned compassion through these last three months if we did the work, right? Mm-hmm. Now it's like, how can I have compassion for myself to actually meet myself with grace? I just said a lot. I want to open the floor to you because I just went on a full-out monologue there. But I was totally moved by these gates shifting in. So I'm curious what hit you there.
Yeah, everything that I'm seeing is really supporting and backing up what you just said. And so including the queen and the emotions. And so let me just give you my perspective, but It completely backs up everything you just said. So the first week of June is, like we said, it's that Knight of Swords where we're in a space very quickly learning that if we don't change our mindset, that we will feel states of urgency, states of fear, states that will press us into action before we're ready. So we're meant to be very aware of those things this week. And the thing that's going to slow everything down comes in between the 8th and the 14th, right when you were talking about that gate shifting and the time of the Queen. And this is actually the Queen of Swords week. It's the moment when that sword of truth, that very clear, sharp discernment of what is right and true in the world, that becomes part of what we sit into as our throne. And when we come from that place, it calms down all of that fear and urgency and the nightmare and the false beliefs. It calms it all down because we can rest on that blade of truth. And when we cultivate the blade of truth within, then our actions begin to move from that place with the King of Swords from the 15th to the 21st. Now, there are a lot of really strong aspects between the 8th and the 9th, and on the 15th there are some really strong energies moving us to the open-heartedness of that truth. We've got Jupiter moving into Cancer. It will be there for a whole year. Jupiter has worked for an entire year to give us a new clarity of story and to really put a spotlight on how our beliefs shape our reality. So we've had practice for a whole year in expanding what that looks like and getting the feedback from our surroundings of, when I tell this story, this is what happens. When I believe this about that person, they act like that person. It's almost like seeing how much power we have in our beliefs. So when it shifts into Cancer and we get that Queen of Swords truth, that's when it finally all sinks in. The truth of how powerful we are finally all sinks in. And that's when we also have squaring energy, because it could be that these vulnerable truths bring us to a new kind of action that we've never taken before. And when we start moving with these new actions, it will change the way reality is felt. And during the month or the week where we've got the King of Swords from the 15th to the 21st, we also have Mars moving into Virgo. And so when Mars moves into Virgo, whenever I see Mars in Virgo for someone's chart, I'm like, is this person a doctor, a surgeon? Do they have a very precise scalpel that goes in and cuts away the tissues that are healthy and pulls out the tissues that are unhealthy? Mars already can act like a blade, but when it's in Virgo, you've got like a heart surgeon, a neurosurgeon. So much precision.
Yeah.
So we get this King of Swords with a Mars in Virgo, and we begin acting with so much precision. We take pause and we make sure that we know exactly what story we're telling ourselves, the values that are informing that story, and the actions that will uphold all of these parts of the story and parts of our truth. Then we enter into Cancer season. And Cancer season brings a lot more different types of growth. It's growth that comes from being broken open in the best ways possible. I'm not, when I say broken open, I'm not saying like everything's going to be so bad it'll take you to your knees. No way. The things that break me open have to do with like seeing my daughter laughing authentically about something and realizing how much it took for me to be present to that finally. And that can break me open, and I could be just letting it all sink in. And that's what life is about. And these are the things that make life worth living. It's these moments that sink all the way in. So the latter part of the month is kind of the reward that we get emotionally through the fulfilling moments that sink in.
I think Cancer is another one of those like Virgo that gets kind of a bad rap, where, I think people have this vision, or at least like that Cancers are just sort of like this bleeding heart mess, just all emotion. They can't contain, and that's just not the truth at all. And I think there's like a bit of a reclaiming of that. I think it's interesting because we have on the 19th, some of the things that I had circled in here just for like interesting things that I was seeing, at least from the human design perspective. I noticed that on the 19th, from the 19th to like the 26th ish, that I have Jupiter and the sun do you see them conjunct in the way
Yes.
that you look at it?
Very.
And this is in the gate 15, which is the gate of extremes. So I had this circled here just because the gate of extremes can mean so many different things. It's really about flexibility. It's about, this is the solstice. So on the solstice, we have one of the love gates comes through here. So the 15th gate is all of the 4 love gates have a specific type of love that they represent. And the 15th gate, I think, can sometimes be one of the more difficult ones for people to conceptualize because it does have to, it sits down facing the sacral center. So it has more to do with like, there's like doing and being where we're kind of blurring that line between, this is about being it, not doing it. And the 15th gate is the gate of extremes, and it can get seriously bored. And it definitely has a very don't tread on me sort of vibe to it. It's like, it's the love of humanity. We all get to be whoever the hell we want to be. And don't you dare come and tell me who I have to be, who I get to love, who I get to, like, what I get to be like out in the world. Like, nobody gets to tell me that, but I will also fight for the right for you to fight for your right to be whoever the hell you want to be and do whatever you want to do and love whoever you want to love. Like, in its highest expression, gate 15 says that the world needs all of us. It needs the whole spectrum of colors. It doesn't just, we would be bored out of our minds if we were only coloring with the box of 6 color crayons. Like, we want the infinite array of hex colors that are out there. And that's what makes this world beautiful. So we have the sun and Jupiter are both in that gate for that week of the 19th. And maybe a little bit longer than that, but that full week of the 19th through like the 26th, I see that gate staying the same. The other thing that had me kind of winking, because what I'm seeing is there's so much of the same themes that we have been seeing in the sun and the earth, where the sun has been in these themes. Now we're seeing all of these other planets it's this repeat. It's like a rerun of the same energy, but now coming through a different planet, coming through something else. The 25th gate, where, we were in that with our nodes at the beginning of the year before we shifted into the 36th. The 25th gate this is another love gate, a different love. This is universal love. This one, so now we have, and do you see that same thing, that Saturn and Neptune are conjunct for like the 10th? And I think they stay that way, or Neptune stays in there till like September, I think. Where this is a long stretch of these doing this, but the 20, and we can talk about that particular, because that's an Aries sign there. But the 25th gate is about universal love. We are all one. We are one consciousness is kind of what the 25th gate teaches us. But at its depth, it's really telling us that you've got to go into your wounds. That the only way out is through. And I think that's just a theme that, like, this has been repeating. I forget exactly what the placements were, but we saw this constantly through the first half of the year, like that first quarter of the year. And now here we're seeing it again. And I think it's just sort of like, it's the universe is sort of calling us to do that inner work and to not. And I think right now, if we talk a little bit more about like collectively what we're seeing in the world and how much division there is, I think it's very interesting that this gate of universal love and unity, of us being one consciousness, is the one that I've seen repeating over and over and over again. The 2 gates that I've seen repeating over and over: crisis and universal love. That, and compassion is the gift of the crisis gate. and then universal love. And those two things, like, I think we are all being called to maybe see that our wounds are not all that different. They're actually quite similar. If you sit down in an intimate setting, like you were at that retreat this weekend, I bet that the conversation, it wasn't like everybody had these wildly different personal experiences that they were having. It's like the same wound in a slightly different scene. Is that accurate? That's what
Yes,
I find
absolutely.
in those circles.
Yeah, the energetics of it were all the same. It was like understanding how deeply important connection, authentic connection actually is, and holding space for us to be in right relationship with even previously discordant parts of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Like finding compassion and forgiveness so that we can move into a state of grace and harmony. It's kind of like the era of having a high tolerance for things that are not working well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the era of high tolerance is over and our
Yeah.
tolerance level is low. And so these things that are just slightly out of balance or out of integrity or out of health, it seems like they become really important right now. And we really want to get to the bottom of it. We really want to restore wholeness to our lives.
Mm.
And we know we're so close and we have the tools and we've got the compassion and we've got the intellect and we've got the desire and the faith. And so that's what it feels like. It feels like we're on this place where we're like, there's got to be a way. Not that this wholeness will keep us from feeling pain ever. In fact, it's really painful to it's ironically some of the reasons why there are discordant parts in our lives is because we've shut off some of our emotional compassion or our
Mm.
vulnerability to a degree. And so we've closed it off, we've cut it off, we've separated ourselves, we've made it other. And so that part is trying in every single way to be acceptable in our
Mm.
wholeness. And so it will do whatever it's desiring to do to get our attention so that we can accept it in wholeness. And I feel like I'm speaking like symbolically high level right now, but it's just so simple. Like, and the reason it sounds high level, but honestly, by the end of June, these will be very obvious things in our lives. There will be issues that we finally understand how to bring into restoration by opening our hearts, by feeling the entire spectrum of emotion about it, by humbling ourselves, by knowing that every single human is humbly going through whatever this human experience is about. Like no one's immune from all of these things.
No, and I think we have to be high level when we're talking on a podcast. You know, we're going to talk more of like these higher chunked up kind of themes. But I also think that what I kept getting as you were saying that, I mean, this all feels very much like North Node and Pisces kind of conversation, isn't it? That we're sort of having to open up to the more emotional side and this bigger picture and not being so stuck in the details or in feeling like we just got to get it done or we have to have this high tolerance for things that are not, they shouldn't be tolerable. And we're being asked to grow. So I think that was what I was getting there. And I think that it's up to, you know, the person who's listening right now. I think they're grabbing what, like when we hear a big theme, what happens is the listener is going, oh, that means this to me. And that's what I hope you're doing at home as you're listening to this. I hope you're hearing these bigger themes and you're saying, well, what does that mean for me? How is that coming through for me? How do I see that playing out in my life? Because that's where this stuff doesn't just become another podcast that you listen to, that this is where, you know, these can be the tools that you use to help navigate your life and help yourself grow into, have that exact idea of what progress looks like for you. Progress is growth. Progress is being further today than you were yesterday. That's all progress means. what we get caught up in is what we think it should mean. Progress means I will be here. Progress means I will be there. And I think that that is the trap that we start this month off with and what we end with. And I think it's interesting that, again, I'm seeing another conjunct from like the 26th through the 30th of the month, or yeah, through like the 30th, through the end of the month, is this 52nd gate of stillness. And I think it's like we start with restlessness and then we end with the 52nd gate, which is the pressure. It is root center energy, and the root wants to move. But the 52nd gate says that we cannot truly concentrate on something and really give our focus and our energy to something that it deserves if we are not still first. It's called the mountain, is another term for it. So I think that what we're being called to, and this is, we're seeing Jupiter and the sun once again meet up in that last week of the month to say, slow down. But stillness does not mean doing nothing. Stillness means centering yourself in the context of this gate. It's about really focusing on what matters and you cannot truly focus on everything. If everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. And usually that is coming from a place of being ungrounded in yourself, that you're looking out and saying, maybe it's this, maybe it's this, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. Oh, I got all of these things to do. That's always a flag for me. If I've got too many priorities, I'm like, I feel like I'm not grounded right now. Let me go and center myself and see what really jumps out as being important.
Yeah, I remember one time I took a group therapy course with this person named Jordan, and he blew my mind, and probably a lot of people have heard this, but he was saying that healing and growth is actually the ability to tolerate sustained joy, to feel happiness more and more and more, like in a sustained, blissful way, and that we don't need to try and learn how to open ourselves to feeling more pain or tolerating more pain, but it is allowing ourselves to be still enough to let the good things actually sink in. Mm-hmm. And so when you're talking about stillness and we're talking about these emotional, like universal loving gates, and I'm seeing the Ace of Cups and the Two of Cups at the end of the month, and I'm seeing Cancer season, water, all of these things, they're actually in their most beautiful invitation, inviting us to drink from the cup of life and let it sink in. Let all of it actually land in a way that maybe gives us tears, maybe open, like one time I was in another workshop and a woman said that when we crying is proof that the love is sinking into our hearts. And so when the love sinks into our hearts, we sometimes cry. In all of these metaphors, I mean, it's really honestly what makes life worth living. It's the sense of emotional fulfillment that you really can't access through the mind. And so I believe that all of the transits, all of the squares, all the growth is to bring us to a place where we can let it all sink in, where we can tolerate even more bliss and joy, where we can let things touch us in ways that make us feel truly human and grateful for the present moment more than anything else. Mm-hmm. And that's the gift that this month is bringing us.
I completely agree. And that's exactly what I'm seeing. And I think that's just, I think our world is being pulled more toward this too. I think there's a fundamental question about feminine and masculine energy that I think a lot of us have been asking now. And I think we're in a place where we are being called to trust that the feminine, divine feminine, real feminine can actually deliver. And I think I think a lot of us have felt it and like intellectually have gotten on board that train. And I see this with so many people that I work with too. Intellectually, they're like, yeah, no, feminine energy, sure. And then the next question is, yeah, but what do I do? And I'm like, well, that's not really the question at this moment. You're intellectually taking in the energetic side, And then you're saying, yeah, got it. Next. Now what do I do? And that's such an interesting thing for me to point out to people, where it's like, but you're instantly going back to the masculine and saying, but that's how I'll get what I want. I'll grow that way. And you do need both. You have to, like, there's a place for both. Like, I'm not full feminine, but I think that that's so much of these themes, and what June is taking us through, I think is getting us to be able to, I think that one of the things that came to mind as you were talking about, about feeling and about, holding actual sustained joy versus, just feeling more pain. But we have to let that pain, and we talked about this in last month's episode, you have to let that pain in order to sustain the joy. Otherwise you'll push it away and you won't know you're doing it. So I'm excited for this month to see what she holds for us, to see what June brings us. Did you have any last words for our people?
I would just create a lot of space for the 8th and 9th.
Okay.
I'd create a lot of space for ourselves. I think we might be surprised at how quickly we start to feel things so intensely, because there will be a lot of expansion. And what that could feel like is you suddenly are very, very sensitive and just can't tolerate things the way you could before. That's probably what it will feel like. Like, why do I feel so sensitive? Why do I feel so like, blah? And so if you start to feel that way at all, it's yes, you're not crazy. We're entering a year where all of the filters and governors to our sensitivity are being gently removed. It's like a snake shedding its skin. It finally is in that new raw skin, and it's going to feel everything a lot more intensely.
Yeah.
So create more space there. And then I also saw the 15th as a pretty strong day for growing, to honor our sensitivity and create space for that sensitivity. And then I saw the 24th being a day where there's a reclamation of our worthiness to our sensitivity. So those were the key days that really stuck out for me.
Yeah, I love it. And I called out mine throughout. I'm looking at that 19th through the 24th. I think there's also that the 13th through the 18th, that week, just something interesting from a human design perspective. North Node and the Sun are going to, those two gates in human design are going to form a channel. So we're all going to have the this channel of openness is what it's called. And it really is about being able to speak with emotional intelligence or not. You're either going to see the shadow of this and see how maybe you are rushing to spew your emotions on everybody, which is the shadow. Because I think that this is another thing, like, where we get caught up in what emotional feeling is, like, oh, well, I'm just emotional all the time and I'm okay with all of these emotions. It actually isn't appropriate or graceful to throw your emotions on other people, or to speak before you've processed your emotions, to speak in the emotion. To have true emotional intelligence, we're going to have a big lesson in that week of really recognizing what is it to sit with something and then say the thing, if appropriate, that needs to be said, but from a grounded, processed place, and not from a purely raw emotional place that just flings your emotional frequency on people, versus processing it and seeing what's there for you before you go getting rid of it, which feels good in the moment, and then but that's not real growth. So that was another thing that I wanted to call out. Otherwise, I think that it is a vibrant month. There's a lot happening. Pay attention, take some space, like Christina said, and just ride your wave. Know that you're on a ride. And if something feels like it's out of control, pause. Usually that will do the trick. But thank you so much. I appreciate you. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate you making it all the way to the end of this episode with us. If you want to stay in touch with Christina, you can you can keep in touch with her. Follow her on Instagram, which you should be doing already. But if you're new to the show, please go and follow her right now on Instagram. She's at lunation.live, and you can watch her beautiful post that she puts up. You put up such great imagery and such cool little glimpses. It's very un-Instagram, which I love about your profile. It's so much deeper than the traditional like astrology that we get on Instagram. So go follow her over there. Do you have any place else that you're driving people to this month?
Nope, this is the space. Yep.
The Instagram is where you go. I'm at Nicole Lano Official, so you can follow me over there if you don't already, and tag us in your story and let us know what you thought of this episode. Tag both of us and we will share it on our stories as well. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Remember, in order to have an unshakable business, you must first become an unshakable human. So thanks for letting us help you become unshakable with human design. We'll see you next time. If you love this episode and you're a fan of the show, please show us the love on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to the show, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with other entrepreneurs on their human design journey, join our free Facebook community, Human Design for Entrepreneurs. Go to NicoleLano.me/podcast links to join the group, book a human design reading with me, or access our free human design resources. We'll see you there.